Would you like to hear a scary story? Perhaps one you could tell in the dark? This week I got to discuss the iconic Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark series with Chelsea Weber-Smith of American Hysteria. It was a fantastic conversation that you should check out wherever you like to listen to podcasts, but before you go, let's get in the mood with an old English folktale that Schwartz featured in his second volume. This is The Music Box. Long ago, in a seaside village, there was a pair of sisters. Violet was the name of the elder, named for her stunning baby blue eyes, and her younger sister was named Sparrow, for her affinity to birds. The children lived with their mother in a small cottage, often alone because their father was a sailor. The two girls were raised very well. They went to school hand in hand every morning and came back with perfect attendance and report cards. They didn't spend an extra cent of the chore money, only purchasing what mother put on their shopping list. And they never talked to strangers. At least they never did, until one fateful October evening. They'd just finished up their after-school errands when they saw an old woman sitting in a corner of the village square. She wore a black bonnet and starched lace skirts that rustled like tissue paper. She wore stiff white gloves on her hands, and her cheeks were caked in white powder and rouge, and her eyes covered with thick, smoky eyeglasses. The old woman greeted the girls, beckoning to them, her voice crackling like pages of an old book. The girls paused, but continued on their way. Then, from the corner of their eye, the girls saw the old woman remove a beautiful music box from her black silk purse. The sisters watched the old woman turn a key in the back of the pearwood box, and gasped as the box opened to reveal two dancing figures. One doll was made to look like a sad little boy in a red hat, while the other looked like a pale-faced girl with long golden curls. The sisters were delighted by the music box and asked the old lady if they could have it. "I'm afraid this is a very special heirloom," the old woman explained. "Only the naughtiest little children get to play with this music box." The sisters looked at each other sadly. "But we were always told to be very, very good," they said. "That's all very well," the old woman replied. "But if you go home tonight and act like wicked little girls, then tomorrow you might get to play with the music box. But not today." The sisters returned home and quietly debated what they should do. Perhaps, they thought, if they were just a little naughty, that would be enough. They were such good girls, after all. Maybe good little girls only needed to be a little bad. So they refused to eat their dinner, and they stomped their feet and cried when it was time to go to bed. Thrown by their behavior, their mother had a warning. "If you insist on being so naughty, I will have to go away and send home a new mother to take care of you. A mother with eyes of glass, so she won't have to bear the sight of such wicked, wicked girls." But the sisters just laughed, for they'd never heard their mother speak so, and it seemed rather ridiculous to them. The next day, the sisters rushed back to the square after they'd finished their errands, where they found the old woman. She pulled the wooden music box from her black silk purse and wound it up. The sad little boy with the red hat danced hand in hand with his golden-haired sister. The girls begged for a chance to play with the thing. The old woman asked, "Were you wicked little girls?" "Yes, yes," they cried. "We pushed our dinner around on our plates and made a fuss at bedtime." "That is fairly naughty," the old woman replied, "but not naughty enough. Only the most wicked children get to play with my precious music box." She closed the box and put it back in her purse. Her smoky glasses flashed. "Perhaps tonight, if you are twice as wicked, you might get to play tomorrow." Back home, Violet and Sparrow not only refused their dinner and sulked at bedtime, they broke the china and dragged their feet through their mother's garden. Their mother cried into her handkerchief and said, "If you girls continue being so naughty, I will have to go away and send a new mother in my place. A mother with eyes of glass so she will not see, and a clockwork heart so she cannot feel how sad her wicked little girls have made her." But Violet and Sparrow laughed in her face and called her a liar. Surely the back talk would get them some time with that music box. The next day, the sisters ran right from school to the village square, skipping their after-school errands entirely. The old woman wound up the music box, and the sisters salivated as the little boy and the golden-haired girl lurched through their jerky dance. The sisters delighted at how the dancers reflected in the old woman's glasses, and how they pirouetted right on time with the tick-tick-ticking of the music box. They told the old woman of their terrible behavior, but the old woman snapped the box shut with a frown. "Not naughty enough." She dropped the box into her purse and rose stiffly. Perhaps tonight, if you are 3 times as wicked, you might get to play tomorrow. But tomorrow will be your last chance." That night, Violet and Sparrow pulled out all their most frightful tricks. They upset the cupboards and cut the piano wires. They set the dog loose and pulled the cat's tail. They screamed at their mother and laid hands on each other. Their mother dropped to the floor and wailed, "I have never seen such naughty children! I cannot bear it! Only a mother with eyes of glass who cannot see, and a clockwork heart who cannot feel, and a black bag with no bottom could bear to care for such wicked girls." The next morning, Violet and Sparrow skipped school entirely and ran right to the old woman who sat in the square. They didn't even wait for the woman to pull out the music box. They told her all the terrible things they did, and more than that, they lied, manufacturing outlandish tales of their wickedness to impress the old crone. They laughed at their own reflection in her smoky glasses and danced arm in arm to the tick-tick-tick of the music box. But the old woman's large black purse stayed tied up tight. "Now you have been truly wicked," the old woman praised them. The girls waited for their reward, but it didn't come. "Don't we get to play with the little dancing boy and girl?" they asked. The old woman smiled. The creases of her cheeks rubbed together like sandpaper. It was not a friendly smile. "You'll have to ask your mother," she rasped. The sisters frowned. Suddenly they missed the kind woman who'd raised them, and who they'd treated so terribly the last few nights. They turned around and ran home, ready to apologize. But their mother wasn't there. Hurriedly, they cleaned the mess they'd left the night before and put on a pot of tea. They brushed the dog and fed the cat, determined to make up for all of their naughty deeds. Suddenly, they heard a tap, tap, tap at the front door. Perhaps Mother had forgotten her keys? But Mother wasn't there. Instead, they found the old woman, standing tall, much too tall. Her stiff paper skirts brushed past the door frame. A tick-tick-tick sounded louder, though no music box could be seen. "Your mother won't be coming back," she told them. "But you have nothing to fear, for I will take care of you now." She removed her smoky glasses, and the sisters gasped at the sight of her colorless glass eyes. They were so entranced, they didn't notice the old woman pull open her bottomless black purse. Long ago, in a seaside village, a pair of brothers saw a strange old woman sitting alone in the village square. They watched as she removed a wooden music box from her large black bag. The box opened up, and the boys smiled as 2 figurines began to dance. One had 2 blue buttons for eyes. The other wore feathers in her hair. The boys asked if they could play with the music box. "That depends," the old woman said. "How naughty can you be?" You can, of course, read a variant of that tale in More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. It's called The Drum in that version. And thank you so much for listening. I highly recommend you head on over to your podcast app and enjoy the conversation that Chelsea and I had about Alvin Schwartz and the history of the Scary Stories series and how many people it pissed off along the way. You know, Schwartz did this great interview with Leonard Marcus, who's like a children's literature dude, who asked him about the bands. And Schwartz said, you know, it's really interesting. I was sent this paper one day from Colorado, and he said, and on one side of the page, there was an article about these are the nominees for the Children's Book Award for Colorado this year. And one of them was In a Dark, Dark Room.
Wow.
And then right next to it, there was an article about parents trying to get that book out of the school library. And if you go through your newspapers.com or whatever you can find with that, that's exactly what you see. You see these articles of these little panics in these little towns. But then you also see like editors like rounding up like the best new books for kids. And that book is always on the list. Sometimes there's like kid reviews of it and they love it. There was one really cute one of a kid just being like, and the best thing about this book is I can go tell someone the scary story. And then after I scare them, I get to do it all again with someone else.
Ain't he right? Yeah. Wow.
Give them a follow. You will love American Hysteria. It's a fantastic look at like moral panics and sort of more modern folklore than I tend to cover here on my channel. And I think you'll really like the subjects that they dig into. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.